Hey there team, it's Rachael here again, coming to you live from a very wet Gold Coast this morning. It is pouring down, but at the moment we're quite happy that we're not in lockdown. Many of our clients have woken up to discover this morning in the greater Brisbane area that they will be from 6 p.m. tonight. So thankfully that does not include us for the time being. A nice long weekend on the way for all those shops and all those shop owners in the group who are in the greater Brisbane area. What I want to talk to you about today is a concept that is mostly overlooked outside of our clients that we work with. It's basically one of those things that you don't know because you've never been in the presence of some help or someone in the know that is able to share with you where to look when you're given clues that something isn't right. One of those clues is that there's never enough money in the bank. Now, we talk a lot about measuring productivity, we talk a lot about measuring efficiency, and yep, they're things that we must do. In this day and age, you really can't be without invoicing software, management software that makes all of those calculations for you with just the click of a button and prints out a great report. However, obviously that information, that data on those reports is only as good as the information that's being put in. So one of the ways one of the pathways to discover what's really at the root cause of why you don't ever seem to have enough cash in the bank is to be looking at what we call your effective labour rate. Hello to everybody that's already on. If you're watching this with me live, can you type live in the comments? If you come back to watch the replay later, can you type replay in the comments for me, please? So your effective labour rate is your measurement of the amount of money that you're actually getting per hour for labour as opposed to your advertised labour rate. Now, there's often a lot of discussion in this Facebook group, Your Profitable Auto Repair Shop, about what you're all charging for your labour rate. And we do a benchmarking in here every year. There's currently the last year's labour benchmarking post is in the announcements tab still here in the group. There's even been a couple of posts started over the last couple of days, people asking what are you going to do with your labour rate now that the year has clicked over. And that's all well and good to make sure that what you're advertising, you're selling your labour at is where it should be. However, there is a difference between what you advertise it at and what you actually get. And if your effective labour rate is too far below your advertised rate, then it's an indicator that you are writing off too many hours. So it kind of works closely in conjunction with productivity, but it's another way for us to check if hours are being written off. And especially for our clients in the engine room, they would be aware that every extra labour dollar that you're able to sell and convert goes straight to the bank because you have already paid your team's wages. So this is why it's so vital that we focus on your effective labour rate being as close to your advertised rate as possible. So what we actually can look at here is just a pretty simple example of how to calculate your effective labour rate. So there's unlikely to be something in your software at this stage that will tell you what your effective labour rate is. If your software does do that, please let me know. I'm just not aware of any of them at the moment. So we can do a manual calculation. So what we do is we have a look at how many technicians you have on a given day or a given week and how many hours in a day they have available to sell. So if we've got 3 techs and they each have 8 hours across 5 days, then our available hours to sell equals 120. So the way that we calculate our effective labour rate is to take our total sales over that same time period, so over the week. So let's say we did $15,000 in sales, and we divide that by our amount of hours that we had to sell. So just a quick calculation here gives us $125 an hour if we'd sold every single hour. But if you only sold 60 of your hours, then you're only getting, in reality, half of that hourly labor charge out rate that you're advertising. So your charge out rate may be, $140 an hour plus tax, and that's great. That's perfect. We want you to charge what you're worth. However, if you're writing off hours or hours are going unsold, then you are going to have a effective labor rate that is less than that charged out rate. And this is a contributing factor in there not being enough money in the account at the end of the month to pay all of the bills. Now, the benchmark for this is that your effective labor rate is within 10 to 15% of your advertised rate. So that's the industry benchmark. Now, some of our engine room clients have their effective labor rate over and above their advertised rate in certain weeks based on the improvements in efficiency. So you can definitely go over. But if you are anything outside of 85% of your advertised rate, then you have work to do there. It means that you're under capacity, you don't have enough work coming through, or you're booking the work in, but the jobs are blowing out and you're writing off time, and that is not our ideal situation. So once again, the way to calculate this is to have a look at how many technicians you have. In this case, we have 3. They work 8 hours a day across 5 days of the week. That gives us 120 hours to sell. Our effective labor rate, our advertised labor rate is $125 an hour. We take our total sales and we divide it by the number of hours available to sell. So if you sold $10,000 in sales for the week and you had 120 hours available, you divide your 120 into your $10,000, and that will give you your effective labor rate. The benchmark, again, we want your effective labor rate to be within 10 to 15% of your advertised rate. So if you're in that situation where ends just aren't quite meeting, this is one of the pathways you can take to investigate what's going on so that you can put measures in place to fix it. So if it's an efficiency issue and a productivity issue, you're just not getting the work done in the time or not selling all of your hours, then you know where to start. If it's you're under capacity, you don't have enough work to sell all of your hours, then you've got to look at your systems for upselling, or you've got to look at bringing in new customers. So you might want to go back to the live I did on retention yesterday to get some ideas there. But that's what I wanted to share with you today. Let me know in the comments your thoughts about that, if you currently measure your effective labor rate, if you're going to do it from now on. And also if you were watching this live or whether you have seen the replay. Hope you found that useful. Hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you again next week.